Well, hello Breakfast Club. I'm Landon, I'm the new Wednesday face on here, taking over from Jacob. From next Monday, we're going to be having a topic a week, but for now, got that funk, and thank you for the lovely introduction, Paul, told me to talk about whatever I feel like. But there's really only been one thing on my mind. I'm currently a student at the University of York. As you may have seen, there's been severe flooding in York and other places in the north of England since Christmas, or since Boxing Day the 26th. And I do mean severe, as in bridges destroyed, flood defences overwhelmed, the army called in, the works. I've linked to some pictures in the description. Now, where I stay and the University of York are fortunately dry, but much of the centre of this historic city has been flooded, including, rather sadly, the lovely Merchant Venturers Hall, which I hope that they're going to be able to fix in some way. It's been very strange watching it all unfold at a distance. So it's a city I know quite well, but I'm not there at the moment. Watching reports on the news and social media about how far the water has reached and what's going on, what the emergency service are doing, what damage has been done. I like York very much as a city, and I've developed something of an attachment to the place. A few people might remember a few years ago, a few YouTubers met up in York, which I organised in York partly because I think it's such a nice place to go. For the people who were there, the Red Lion pub that we went to has actually been flooded out. It's not exactly the flooding itself I want to talk about though, but our reaction to it, or lack of preparation for it. Partly one of the things that's annoyed me is just bad reporting. There's been some criticism of the decision to open the Foss barrier, the Foss flood barrier. Now, I'm no expert, but talking to people who know rather more about it than I do, it seemed like it was the right call to make. You've got two main rivers in York, the Foss and the larger Ouse. The Foss flows into the Ouse. And the barrier is there to stop the Ouse pushing water back up the Foss and flooding it when the water's high. Meanwhile, pumps will move water from the Foss into the Ouse. When the pumps were at risk of being flooded out, they basically made the decision to raise the barrier. Now that caused some areas to flood, but if they didn't do that, what you'd effectively have had would be even worse flooding because you would have dammed the river. Basically, the conditions that happened were not what the Foss barrier was designed to deal with, and so it couldn't deal with them. But the media have been turning that into something I don't think it actually is. I don't think that's the scandal. The Prime Minister went and visited York and got a certain amount of criticism for going there, partly because the government has actually cut spending on flood defences. And people were quite critical of him, saying it was just a photo opportunity. But it's the sort of thing that's expected to do, that the person in charge is meant to go and look at what's going on. Now, so far as I know, Cameron doesn't know anything about flood engineering or civil engineering or disaster recovery. And he's not meant to. That's not the Prime Minister's job. If anything, the Prime Minister should be sort of getting out of the way, not taking up people's time, and letting people get on with the recovery. But in some way we expect them to actually be there. Now, of course, they can't go to all the places that are affected, and people in Leeds were critical of the Prime Minister not going to Leeds, but only to York. Equally, the head of the Environment Agency didn't immediately come back from their holiday in the Caribbean, I forget exactly where, and was criticised for that. So, even though neither of them, I would guess, specifically need to be there, neither of them are actually, getting people out on boats or repairing damaged infrastructure, but they have the whole structure beneath them to do that. And I'm not sure what it is that they're meant to do, but whatever they do, they get criticised. It seems that you can't win. The real criticism to be made of the government, though, and to an extent it is being made, is that we didn't spend enough on ameliorating floods or flood prevention, spending on flood defences. Given that we're likely to have further climate change, even if we by some miracle manage to stop emitting any more carbon, now, we're going to have to spend more on ameliorating the effects of climate change. Although it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that when we can't even make up our minds as whether we want the leaders on scene or not. Anyway, new topic next week, but in the meantime, Kate, it's over to you.